when people think of human rights, for some of us, the first thing we think of is the kinds of things that Chad's just been talking about, the civil and political rights. But of course, to flourish and thrive as a human being, we have all sorts of needs. And we also measure what are called economic and social rights, or what we often call quality of life rights. So Susan, I'm going to come over to you as our economic and social rights lead. On everyone's mind right now, probably 100% of us around the world, is the coronavirus pandemic. While we are all consumed with that, I mean, should we also be caring about human rights right now? What do you think, Susan?
Absolutely. In particular, the rights to housing and the rights to health are critical. Obviously, people need access to high quality, affordable medical care in order to reduce the toll from the pandemic. But as you've all probably heard, one of the best ways to limit the spread of the coronavirus is for us all to be washing our hands as well as practicing social distancing. And in fact, part of the right to housing is having the infrastructure of basic sanitation and hand washing facilities on the premises.
So that's something that we measure as well, the right to housing.
That is something we measure as well as part of our right to housing data. And in particularly, it's the indicators we focus on for low and middle income country assessment standard.
And Marie, if you could take us to the rights tracker to explore the right to housing. So again, at the top menu of the rights tracker on every page, you've got rights, countries, and people. And now we're going to spend a bit more time on the rights menu and go to the right to housing, where you're going to see all the countries in the world for which we have data. And for this particular right that we're looking at and the category of indicators that we're looking at, we had 190 odd countries, and we've just filtered it down so that we're looking at low and middle income countries. You can filter all of these pages according to region and type of country in lots of different ways. So Susan, what are we looking at here?
Okay, these are our scores on the right to housing for low and middle income countries. And as you can see, we have scores for 131 low and middle income countries. And as you saw before, we also have scores for high income countries. We compute both our low and middle income and high income assessment standards for all countries to the extent there are data. What's important to realize here is, first of all, there's a huge range of scores. And of course, interpretation is not the way that we typically interpret socioeconomic indicators. What these scores tell you is they tell you how well a country is doing given the income that it has. In other words, we benchmark countries' performance relative to the best performance we have observed over the last few decades in countries with essentially the same per capita income level. So if you see a country like, let's say Burundi, which has 100%, that doesn't mean that everybody in Burundi actually has access to water and sanitation and hand washing facilities on the premises. What that means is that Burundi is doing about as well as we could possibly expect given its per capita income. However,
we're measuring government performance rather than measuring how people are experiencing things on the ground in these statistics. Is that right?
Exactly. And for a country like Burundi to do better, we would find that not everybody is enjoying access to water and sanitation. But for Burundi to do better, it's going to need to grow its income or receive assistance from foreign sources. So if we go down further in the list, we find, in fact, that many countries could actually do much, much better. So if you have a country, for example, with a score of, let's just pause here at Morocco, of about 75%, that's telling you that relative to its current per capita income, it's only doing about 75% as well as what it could achieve.
So for most countries, if they're significantly below 100%, they could be doing more even without more income to ensure that people were enjoying their rights.
Absolutely. And we find that there's many, many countries that could do dramatically better without any increase in per capita income.